Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rock Does Dishes 2 podcast. I'm Caleb, and I'll be your host for today's episode. Over the past 3 episodes, Adam, Bryn, and Jack have taught you all about the Australian system, and today I'm going to be looking at an international analysis of some of the systems that we find around the world. As we move towards making our recommendations, we here at the Rock Does Dishes 2 felt that it was important that when we make our recommendations that we have looked overseas beforehand as a means of finding out whether this is an issue that is faced by men around the world. And if that's the case, if there is any inspiration that we can be provided with to make our recommendations. The first place that I wanted to take us before we head off on our world tour is to the OECD Summary of Parental Leave Systems. This summary contains the entitlements of the 36 member nations of the OECD, which includes Australia, the United Kingdom, Japan, Korea, the United States, as well as a host of other nations. What this list highlights is that in terms of father-specific leave, is that Australia's entitlement of 2 weeks is above the OECD average of only 1 week. Where Australia lags behind, however, is total paid leave reserved for fathers, where that 2 weeks entitlement comes in at well below the OECD average of 8.1 weeks. This places the Australian system on par with countries like the United Kingdom and Denmark, but far below Japan and Korea, who are the two most generous when it comes to paid leave for fathers. While Korean fathers are only entitled to 1 week of father-specific leave, they are also entitled to 12 months of paid parental leave, which can be taken concurrently with their partner. We see this as the same situation in Japan, where fathers have no entitlement to father-specific leave, but they are entitled to 12 months of paid parental leave, which is available to both parents. And this can also be increased to 14 months if both parents take any amount of leave. I would like to now take a deeper dive into a couple of systems. And the first country that I'm taking a look at is Finland. In Finland, fathers are entitled to 9 weeks of individual paid leave, and 3 of these weeks are available to be taken concurrently while the mother is on maternity leave as well. This leave is paid out at 70% of the father's earnings, up to €37,167, 40% up to €57,183, and 25% of earnings that exceed that level. On top of this, Finnish fathers have access to up to 26 weeks of paid parental leave, which is a family entitlement, and home care leave, which can be taken up until the child's 3rd birthday. The paid parental leave is paid out at the same levels as the father-specific leave, and the home care is a basic allowance of €338 per month. What makes Finland such an interesting case study is that they view fathers as integral to the growth and development of their children. In 2017, the Finnish government conducted studies which showed that while a majority of fathers took the first 3 weeks of leave, only around half of the Finnish fathers took the full leave entitled to them. This led to the development of the It's Daddy Time ad campaign, which was intended as a means to break the gender normative assumptions that mothers should look after their kids, while fathers are the breadwinners. Much like we have heard in previous episodes of this podcast, cultural norms are one of the main barriers to fathers taking their entitled leave, and this is what the Finnish government has also identified. Around 80% of Finnish fathers take any amount of their parental leave, and while this may seem like a level at which the Finnish government would be happy, they are still working towards creating a better system. The It's Daddy Time campaign was a step in the right direction for greater equality in Finland, but the Finns weren't done there. In 2021, Finland will be doing away with dividing up parental leave based on gender and will be giving mothers and fathers access to the exact same amount of leave. Their new system will allow each parent 164 days of paid leave, 69 of which can be transferred to the other parent, and that comes out to about 6.6 months of paid leave for each parent, regardless of their gender. I wanted to switch tracks now and have a look at the United States. A UNICEF report from 2019, which analysed legally protected leave for new parents in 41 of the world's richest countries, found that the United States was the least generous country on that list, as it was the only one analysed to offer no paid parental leave entitlements. The only form of parental leave that is on offer to American fathers is under the Family and Medical Leave Act, which entitles parents to 12 weeks of individual leave in the case of birth or adoption. This act, however, only covers around 60% of Americans, as employees are only eligible for leave if they have worked for their employer for at least 12 months, at least 1,250 hours over the past 12 months, and work at a location where the company employs 50 or more employees within 75 miles. This leave is also unpaid unless state governments or employers provide payment compensation. There are 5 states in the US that currently offer paid paternity leave, and I will go over a couple of them briefly. California was the first state to introduce paid paternity leave in the United States, and they did so in 2004. Fathers in California currently are entitled to the 12 weeks of leave, and that is at 60 or 70% of their wage, and there is scope for that to be increased in 2021. New York State is another within the United States that offers paternity leave, and it is considered one of the most generous. Currently, fathers receive 8 weeks of paid parental leave at 50% of their weekly wage, and this percentage is increasing year on year and is set to hit 67% in 2022. There are 3 more states in which paid parental leave schemes will be introduced in the near future: in Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida, and laws are being considered in Massachusetts, Oregon, Colorado, Connecticut, and Vermont. Nationally, however, we are still seeing inaction in regards to a bill for paid parental leave, as one has been stuck in Congress since 2009 with no sign of being passed in the near future. There still appears to be a stigma surrounding paternity leave in the United States. As in California, only 17% of fathers took leave when it was initially introduced, and by 2016 that number had only risen to 37%, which indicates that there is still some reason why fathers aren't taking advantage of their entitlements. This indicates that much of the United States still operates under the traditional gender norms, that a mother cares for the child while the father brings home the paychecks. In one space where the US does kind of lead the way, though, is in the business sector, as many US businesses have some of the most generous policies on offer for their employees. Microsoft is one of those companies that is really leading the way when it comes to providing paid parental leave for not only fathers but also for mothers. So in the United States, the company offers 5 months paid leave to all new birth mothers and 3 months for fathers, adopted parents, and foster parents. While they are not only redefining parental leave within the organization, they are also using their power and influence to shape other companies as well. They only partner with vendors and suppliers that offer a 12-week minimum parental leave for either birth or adopted parents. This means that if you are a supplier or a contractor that wants to work with Microsoft, you'll be required to offer paid parental leave to your employees. So this is a major step in holding organizations accountable. Another organization in the United States that is well known for its strong parental leave policies is Deloitte. They offer 16 weeks for new dads. So beyond the financial components that make it easier for new parents to take their leaves, they create a supportive workplace for parents returning to work with programs like the Reconnect program that coaches parents at work to give them the know-how and confidence to support both their careers and families, or the Deloitte Dads program to help create equitable access for men to take leave. There is no shortage of support for new parents. It was extremely fascinating to discover that in the United States, where there is really no push for a national paid parental leave scheme, well, in terms of the Congress in any case, that businesses are really leading the way because these businesses understand that if you're operating in the same area, say 2 banks, the one thing that might make a person apply to one and not the other, it can sometimes come down to these paid parental leave policies. And that's really fascinating. Culture also seems to be one of the biggest roadblocks to men taking parental leave, whether they don't feel comfortable asking their boss to take leave or it's just not seen as something that a man would do. This seems across both Finland and the US to be the biggest factor as to why men aren't taking as much parental leave as they should. This analysis of Finland and the United States seems to have reaffirmed what we have learnt in all the other episodes of The Rock Does Dishes too. the policy we know is not up to date. You can see that in the United States. That's the same over there as it is here, and it seems to be a culture problem that is preventing men from taking leave, whether that be inside specific businesses and their workplace culture, or whether the culture as a nation as a whole is more slanted towards that traditional male breadwinner model. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rock Does Dishes Do podcast. Join us in the next episode where Adam, Jack, Brent, and myself come together and we discuss any recommendations that we might have moving forward. Once again, thanks for listening and hope you enjoyed.